How's it going, everybody? Lampini here again today, and we are going to be reviewing Week 10 of the 2024 NFL season. Can you believe we're at Week 10 already? We're more than halfway done with the NFL season. Things are starting to take shape here. I'm kind of sad because that means that we're more than halfway done with the season. But without further ado, let's get right into Week 10. Actually, before we do that, I have to go over my predictions for the week. For Week 9, I only got 2 games wrong. The Jets ended up beating the Texans, which I was really surprised about, and the Cardinals ended up beating the Bears. I'm extremely proud of the fact that I got the Titans and Panthers games right. I just had a feeling the Panthers were going to beat the Saints with how the Saints have been playing. But other than that, I was 13-2 for Week 9. Pretty good there. And then for the entire season, I am 97-42. So I have called twice as many games right that I have wrong. So not much else I can say really about that. I'm a football genius. Before you make your money line bets for Week 10, watch the video, and then you can make your picks after that. So without further ado, we're going to get started with Thursday Night Football. So for Thursday night, it's a doozy. We have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens. Both these teams blew out their opponents last week. They actually both scored 41 points. The Bengals destroyed the Raiders 41-24, and the Ravens destroyed the Broncos 41-10. So both teams are doing extremely well. The Bengals are 4-5. So they have been digging themselves out of a hole ever since they've been 1-4, I believe, which means that they've been 3-1 in the last 4 weeks, but they need to get above 500. They're still not in the playoff run just yet. So this would be a huge win for them, but, the Ravens are coming off of a great win too. Joe Burrow threw his second 5-touchdown game of the season. He was 27 of 39 for 251 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, a 115.5 passer rating, which is incredible performance there by Joe Burrow. He's one of the MVP candidates right now, but we're going to be going over someone right now that has the front runner for MVP right now, and it's his to lose. And that person is Lamar Jackson. He was 16 of 19 for 280 yards, 3 touchdowns, 158.3 passer rating. And then Derrick Henry had 23 carries for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Zay Flowers had 5 receptions for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. So those were the big 3 for this game. Lamar threw 3 touchdowns, Zay Flowers caught 2 of them, and Derrick Henry rushed for 2 yards. Derrick Henry already has 1,000 yards rushing, and he has 11 rushing touchdowns. So he's on pace for 20 rushing touchdowns, and if he really kicks it into gear, he has the opportunity of having a 2,000-yard rushing season with 20 rushing touchdowns, which isn't going to win him MVP, but I think that it should, because you're talking about a top 5 all-time season, really. But what do I know, right? I don't know anything. So this game is going to be very interesting because it is a divisional matchup. The Ravens won the previous one, but it was interesting because, again, Joe Burrow threw 5 touchdowns in that one as well. But I am going to go with the Ravens with this one at home for the pure reason that nobody has shown that they can stop Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and I don't think the Bengals are going to be the team to do it. So I just think the Ravens are going to score more points than the Bengals. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but I do think the Ravens are going to win, and they're going to defeat Cincinnati. So next up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Washington Commanders. Commanders are 7-2. This is the first time they've been 7-2 since 1996. They are firing on all cylinders right now. They defeated the Giants 27-22. Now, I know that seems pretty close, but Washington was in control of this game the entire time. The Giants scored 12 points in the fourth quarter, which means that they had only 10 points. So I was watching the game on and off, but the Giants were never in this game. They may have only lost by 5 points, but there was a garbage time touchdown in there that made it a bit closer, but the Commanders were in control of that game from the very beginning. Jaden Daniels with a very efficient showing. He was 15 of 22 for 209 yards and 2 touchdowns, 128.8 passer rating, and both of those touchdowns went to Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin has 6 receiving touchdowns on the season, which is the second highest touchdown total that he's had in his entire career. His rookie year, he had 7 touchdowns, and he's only 9 games in. So he has the potential to have the best season of his career, and it's great that he does that with a franchise quarterback like Jaden Daniels. As for the Steelers are coming off of a bye week. They're 6-2, and they are quietly one of the better teams in the league. They have a positive 68 point differential, which is fourth in the NFL behind the Lions, Bills, and Commanders. So they are no slouches. They defeated the Giants 26-18. Russell Wilson with another efficient showing, 20 of 28 for 278 yards and a touchdown, 114.9 passer rating. And then Najee Harris had 19 carries for 114 yards. He averaged 6 yards a carry. So the Steelers are looking like a very, very solid team here. And like I said, they've quietly become 6-2. They are number one in their division, and if they don't win the division, they're probably going to win the wild card. But a lot of people aren't really putting them in consideration as like a top 5 power ranking team. I personally am, because I think that they did well with Justin Fields, and they've been doing even better with Russell Wilson, playing nice, clean, efficient football. Their defense is second in points allowed per game, so they have an elite defense. TJ Watt is TJ Watt. This is going to be a very, very tough game for me to call, but it's at home. I want to give the Commanders a chance here. If they beat the Steelers, I think that we can say, because the Commanders have had a pretty easy schedule, I'd say, so far. The way they played against the Ravens, I think, says a lot about how good of a team they actually are. But if they can beat the Steelers, then they are going to be a perennial. If they beat the Steelers, they'll be 8-2, and I think by that point, they are a perennial power ranking top 5 team, because the Steelers are a power ranking top 5 team in my opinion. So I'm going with the Commanders, though. I hope they improve to 8-2. So next up, we have the New York Giants at the Carolina Panthers. This is going to be a game played in Munich, Germany, and it's a war crime that two of the worst teams in the NFL are playing against each other in Germany. This is not the best foot forward for the NFL to show Germany what the NFL is all about. That being said, the Panthers did get a win. They beat a divisional rival in the New Orleans Saints 23-22. Bryce Young was 16 of 26 for 171 yards, a touchdown and interception, 77.6 passer rating. And then Chuba Hubbard had 2 rushing touchdowns. So still not the best game. Still not the best game by Bryce Young. But you know, it is what it is at this point. He still is not that good. But they were able to defeat the Saints. I still think Bryce Young is the answer. And I don't think he's that good, you know. As for the Giants, again, they didn't do too well. But that being said, Daniel Jones, like he always does against us, Daniel Jones had a great game. He was 20 of 26 for 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 119.7 passer rating. I don't know what it is. He always plays well against us and us alone. But listen, we won. It doesn't really matter. I mean, this is going to be a very interesting one. I think that because the Giants' defense is so good and they have Dexter Lawrence on the defensive line, they have Brian Burns, I think that the Giants are going to win this game. I think their defense is going to hold the Panthers to a few points, and the Giants are going to do just enough to win. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but I do think the Giants are ultimately going to win. All right, guys, so next up we have the New England Patriots at the Chicago Bears. The Bears are coming off of 2 straight losses, and obviously the Patriots are 2-7. Not much going on with the Patriots, but I mainly want to talk about the Chicago Bears because they got throttled by the Arizona Cardinals 29-9. I don't know if the Hail Mary is going to be a bad omen for them and they're going to start falling down as the season goes on, but I think the Bears have had a lot of expectations pushed onto them this year, unjustly so. I think that they have really, they are in the same point of their rebuild as we are, right, is what I was saying. But we haven't had nearly the amount of expectation that they have. I understand Caleb Williams is the number 1 pick, and he's a generational guy. But, again, a very mediocre game from him. He was 22 of 41 for 217 yards and a 68.9 passer rating. So, not too much going on there. Drake May was 29 of 41 for 206 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, a 69.8 passer rating. Not really a good game by either one of them. This is a game that the Bears need to win to stay in contention, or else they drop 3 straight. They fall to 4-5. And the NFL is incredibly competitive with their wild card spots this time around. So I would say that this is a must-win for the Bears. They're going against the Patriots and not a very good team. I think they are going to win. I'm going with the Bears. So next up, we have the Buffalo Bills at the Indianapolis Colts. The Bills are coming off of a 30-27 win against the Miami Dolphins. And the Colts are coming off the 21-13 loss against the Minnesota Vikings. Joe Flacco had a pretty poor game for the Colts. in relief of Anthony Richardson, who is suffering from tiredness. He was 16 of 27 for 179 yards and an interception for a 63.7 passer rating. I don't really know what the Colts do from here. I don't know if they do go with Anthony Richardson and just let him develop. I'm not really sure, but they're struggling right now. I'd say that they should just put in Anthony Richardson because they should just put him in because it's like you saw what happened with Joe Flacco. He doesn't really put them in a position. I understand being 4-4 and then being like, okay, yeah, we need like we're still in the playoff race. We need to give the quarterback the start who gives us the best chance of winning versus let's develop our young quarterback. Doesn't matter if we drop some L's, it doesn't matter. But, it is, I'm going to go with the Bills on this one. The Bills have the highest point differential in the AFC. They're 7-2. They are kind of going about how we expected them to go. I've said a couple times in these prediction videos, we know the Bills are a dynamo regular season team. It's just going to be a matter of if they can get it done in the playoffs, if they can make the Super Bowl, if they can win the Super Bowl. So this is a game that they should waltz over and win. I'm going with the Bills on this one. So next up, we have the Denver Broncos at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are coming off a win Monday night against the Buccaneers, and the Broncos are coming off of a huge thrashing against the Baltimore Ravens. So the Broncos have had quietly a pretty good season at 5-3, but looking at their strength of schedule, it was really, really weak. They go against a contender in the Baltimore Ravens, and they absolutely crumbled under pressure. This is what I was saying about the Commanders still looking good against the Baltimore Ravens, because right now, I think the Ravens are one of the best teams in the NFL right now. This victory against the Broncos is going to shift them back into the power rankings, spoiler. So it's just kind of, that's that. The Broncos did not have a very good game. Bo Nix was 19 of 33, 223 yards, an interception. He was sacked 4 times, 65.6 passer rating. So again, not the best showing by him. Cortland Sutton threw a touchdown pass, which is pretty cool, but not too much going on for there. As for the Chiefs, getting DeAndre Hopkins in was a huge net positive for them. Patrick Mahomes was 34 of 44 for 291 yards, 3 touchdowns, 116.8 passer rating. So that's probably his best game of the season. It's probably the first game he hasn't thrown an interception in. So he's starting to get things going again. If he keeps having games like that, he's going to have a typical Patrick Mahomes kind of season. DeAndre Hopkins had 2 receiving touchdowns, and Travis Kelce had 100 receiving yards. I always knew DeAndre Hopkins wasn't washed. He had 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns last year for the Tennessee Titans. As bad as they were, he still managed to get 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. So I think that DeAndre Hopkins is going to have a really, really good season with the Chiefs. The Chiefs have won 14 straight games. They are 8-0 on the season. They're going to improve to 9-0 because I don't see the Denver Broncos beating them. I'm going with the Chiefs. So next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. There's not much to be said about the Saints now. They have lost 7 straight. They are one of the worst teams in the league right now, I believe. Derek Carr is finally back, and he had an okay game. He was 18 of 31 for 236 yards and a touchdown, 92.2 passer rating. But I don't know what it is about Derek Carr. He has decent stats, but he just seems to be a loser everywhere he goes. No offense. But, yeah, they lost to the Panthers. They're going to lose to the Falcons. The Falcons are 6-3. They stole this division from the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are getting ravaged by injuries, and the Falcons are looking like the team we all expected them to be, with a new head coach and Kirk Cousins be able to sling the rock to his offensive weapons. He was 19 of 24 for 222 yards, 3 touchdowns, 144.8 passer rating. So another great game by Captain Kirk. He started the season pretty slow, but he's really getting into his stride. He may be 36. He may be coming off Achilles injury, but I think he's making a very good campaign for Comeback Player of the Year. I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins and the Falcons on this one to improve to 7-3, and the Saints are going to lose their 8th straight. So next up is the battle of 2 very beaten-up teams. We have the San Francisco 49ers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The 49ers are 4-4. The Bucs are 4-5. The 49ers have been a huge disappointment this year, ravaged by injuries. Their Super Bowl window appears to be closing. That being said, they did beat the Dallas Cowboys. Brock Purdy was 18 of 26 for 260 yards and a touchdown, 114.3 passer rating. And then George Kittle had 6 receptions for 128 yards and a touchdown. So not a bad showing by either one of them. The Buccaneers just came up short in overtime against the Kansas City Chiefs. Baker Mayfield fought hard for a guy who doesn't have Chris Godwin or Mike Evans. Baker Mayfield was 23 of 31 for 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 112.3 passer rating. So he was decent, but wasn't able to get it done. In this game, though, I am still going to go with Tampa. I think the 49ers are just... Well, that being said, Christian McCaffrey is supposed to come back. You know what? Take it back. I'm going to go with the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey's back. They may be able to make a bit of a run now with their most valuable player. Yeah, I said it. Christian McCaffrey's the MVP of the 49ers. I'm going to go with them. I think they're going to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, improve to 5-4. The division for the 49ers is wide open. I think the number 1 team is 5-4 themselves. So they got to do what they got to do, and they might be able to do enough to win. Next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings at the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Vikings are now 6-2. They are still at the top of their division, despite being 1-2 in their last couple games. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, while they fought hard, they lost the Eagles 23-28. Sam Darnold was slinging the rock, and he threw 3 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, 28 of 34, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, like I said, 107.1 passer rating. And then Justin Jefferson had 7 receptions for 137 yards. Vikings are still good. I wouldn't put them top 5 in the power rankings, but I would say that they're still a very competent team. I think they're going to beat the Jaguars. The Jaguars are still a team in disarray right now. Trevor Lawrence threw 2 interceptions in their loss against the Eagles. They're playing a bit better, but they're still not a very good team. They need a new head coach. They need to commit to kind of a full rebuild and give stuff around Trevor Lawrence. I understand they have their franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. I understand he's not having the best season, but he's not playing on the best team either. So that's not really helping him either. So with that being said, I am going to go with the Vikings on that one. So now we come to the 4 o'clock slates. We have the Tennessee Titans at the Los Angeles Chargers, sorry. Chargers are coming off a pretty good win, 27-10 against the Browns, and the Tennessee Titans were able to defeat the New England Patriots 20-17. That was one of the predictions that I got correct. I thought that the Titans were going to walk away with that game because they were just basically the better of the worst teams. Justin Herbert has quietly been having a pretty good game this season. He's only thrown 1 interception on the entire season, but he's only thrown 10 touchdowns. He's 18 of 27 for 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, 125.8 passer rating. He was sacked 6 times, though, which is a bit dangerous. And then as for the Tennessee Titans, they're still starting Mason Rudolph, which I think is just embarrassing. A guy that was a backup in the league for so many years. The Titans, they need to either draft a quarterback, get a veteran, or do something because they're a team in disarray right now. They don't have a lot of talent. They got rid of DeAndre Hopkins. They need to go into full rebuild mode, like starting now. What the Commanders did was after Week 5, they knew they weren't going anywhere. They committed to the rebuild in 2023. They got all their draft capital. They got all their cap space. They rebuilt the team, completely bottomed out, and now they're good now. In this league, sometimes that's what you need to do. That's what the Titans need to do, and that's what a lot of other teams need to do. I'm going to go with the Chargers on this one. They're going to improve to 6-3. They are a very solid wild card team right now. Getting wins like this is going to further their case to make it to the wild card. 6-3 is a hard hole to dig yourself into, but the Chargers have done crazier things, so I wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to go with the Chargers, though. I'd be very surprised if they didn't beat the Titans. Next up, we have an NFC East matchup. We have the Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys. We were really afraid that the Eagles were going to start self-destructing a little bit, but they've kind of righted the ship a little bit. They are 6-2, and they're going against a very weakened Dallas Cowboys team. The Cowboys are done. They need to build a new team. Dak Prescott is going to be out for a couple games, so Cooper Rush was in the game. He played whatever. The Eagles had a very strong showing against the Jacksonville Jaguars, like I had said previously. Jalen Hurts was 18-24, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, 132.3 passer rating. He also rushed for a touchdown. And then Saquon Barkley had 27 carries for 159 yards and a touchdown. Very, very impressive showing by Saquon Barkley. Saquon is the second best running back in the league right now behind Derrick Henry. I think the Eagles are going to walk away with this one. I just think the Cowboys are 0-3 at home. With some of the rumors I saw about Jerry's World, Dallas Cowboys, how they have all these distractions on the field, like they are not a team to take seriously, in my opinion at least. So with that being said, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles on this one. They're going to beat the Cowboys. So next up, we have the New York Jets at the Arizona Cardinals. This game is going to be very interesting. So the Jets had a season-saving win against the Houston Texans, so now they're 3-6, which was a big surprise to me. I did not expect them to win. I thought the Jets were going to get a couple wins down the road against some bad teams. Maybe they beat the Dolphins or something, divisional matchup. But they beat the Texans. Aaron Rodgers had his best game as a New York Jet. 22 of 32 for 211 yards, 3 touchdowns, 118.1 passer rating. And then Davante Adams had 7 receptions for 91 yards and a touchdown. Garrett Wilson had 9 receptions for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, if the Jets can do that every game, Aaron Rodgers go off, spread the ball around to Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson, these guys are way too talented to not put points on the board. Now, the Jets scored 21 points. So all those points came from those stats that I just mentioned to you. If the Jets can beat the Texans, they can beat a lot of teams. But like they would have to go, it's week 10, so there's 8 more games. They would have to go 7-1/6-2 for even a chance. They need to go 7-1. They have no margin for error right now. And the Arizona Cardinals have looked pretty good. Like again, 29 points. They're 5-4. They're number 1 in that division. And if the Cardinals end up making the playoffs, that'd be a very big surprise to me. I was always saying about that. They're rebuilding, but they need to start paying dividends. Well, it looks like they're paying dividends now. And if they improve to 6-4, that's going to be a big one for them. But if the Jets manage to improve to 4-6 every single game after, they dig themselves out of that hole and get closer to 500. But like I said, they have no margin for error. And despite all that, I am still going to go with the Arizona Cardinals. The Jets had one good game. Until they have another good game like that, it's going to be hard for me to go with them. I'm still going to go with the Cardinals. Next up on Sunday night, we have a really, really interesting looking game here. We have the Detroit Lions at the Houston Texans. Potential Super Bowl matchup here. The Texans are 4-0 at home, but the Lions are 4-0 on the road. I think the Lions are the de facto best team in the NFL right now. They're wiping the floor with everybody. They have looked really, 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 really good. Jared Goff in their game against the Packers where they won 24-14. Jared Goff was 18-22 for 145 yards, a touchdown, 109.3 passer rating. Another good showing by him. And this is where the Texans are winning and losing their games. So CJ Stroud was 11 of 30 for 191 yards, 59.2 passer rating. Not good. CJ Stroud was sacked 8 times. That is unacceptable. That is David Carr levels of incompetency by that offensive line. It's no wonder they lost with statistics like that. That is horrible. So with that being said, what are the Houston Texans going to do? They are running the risk of dropping 2 straight. They have that division on lockdown because no one else in that division is any good, but this doesn't bode well for them in the playoff struggle, where if they go against a contender like the Lions, if they crumble under pressure, if they get beat really bad, not a good look for them. So I am going to go with the Lions on this one to improve to 8-1. They look like the best all-around team. The only loss that they did have was on like a last-second field goal. I can't remember who they lost to, but it was a close game. So I'm going to go with the Lions on this one. I think they're going to win. So last but not least, we have the Monday night game. We have the Miami Dolphins at the Los Angeles Rams. Dolphins are coming off of a loss, and the Rams are coming off of an overtime victory against the Seattle Seahawks in very incredible fashion. The Rams are 4-4, so if they keep winning, they might have a chance to take control of the division. If you have Sean McVay and Matt Stafford there's always a chance for you to win. So that also needs to be taken into consideration. Matt Stafford was 25 of 44 for 298 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, 83.3 passer rating. He's keeping that team above water right now, Matt Stafford, in my opinion, because he was the reason they won that game against the Seattle Seahawks. So that's the whole reason why they won. I'm going to be brief with this one. I think the Dolphins still have a lost season at 2-6. Tua Tagovailoa is having better games, but he still is nowhere near where he needs to be. So for that reason, I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Rams. I think he's going to win. So that wraps up Week 10, and now we're going to go over the point differentials really quick to see where all these teams stand. So starting off with the AFC, you can see the top 3 are the Bills, Steelers, and Ravens. No surprise there. I think that those are 3 of the best teams in the NFL right now. The Chiefs coming down the wire with a positive 56, positive 58 here for the Chargers. They are first in points allowed So they have allowed the fewest points in the NFL, which is very impressive. You talk about Jim Harbaugh, as an offensive guru. They have not been doing a whole lot on offense, but a positive 58-point differential. They're still winning games, and they're doing it convincingly. So very impressive showing there by the Chargers. But Chiefs are still 8-0. They're still undefeated. They're still the team to watch in the NFL. So now we have the NFC standings right over here. You can see the Lions have a 110-point differential, which is very impressive. They are, like I said, they're the de facto best team in the league right now. They have allowed the least amount of points in the NFC, which I think is incredibly impressive, on top of being one of the best offenses in the NFL as well. If we go into them really quick to see where they stand in terms of their point totals and like where they rank in terms of offense and defense, you will see that they are first in points scored on offense, fifth in points allowed on defense. So it's no wonder why they're the best team in the league when they have the number one offense in the league and a top 5 defense. That'll very easily get you where you want to go. So it's mainly just going to be a question about if the Lions can reach the Super Bowl or have playoff success. Again, number 2, we have the Washington Commanders, positive 74-point differential, which I am just completely blown away by. They're third in points and yards, which is very encouraging. That means that they can move the ball as well as score points. It's a dream. And then we have the Carolina Panthers at the very bottom with minus 146. They're going to be historically bad. Not much else to say. They could have a minus 200-point differential, which is one of the worst that we've ever seen in the NFL. So now that we're done with all that, we're going to go, last but not least, into the power rankings. Now, again, I'm going to try and blast through these power rankings here. Number 1, again, going to go with the Detroit Lions. They're the number 1 team in the NFL right now. They may not be undefeated like the Chiefs, but I think they are hand and foot the best team in the NFL. Number 2, I'm going to go Chiefs. They're 8-0. What Mahomes was able to do with DeAndre Hopkins makes them very scary going forward. I think it's very dangerous. I think that's like, oh man, like if they get their offense running again, they might be number 1. They might get even better than the Lions. Right now, though, I have them at number 2. Number three, I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. They have the number 1. They have the highest point differential in the AFC. And the other thing is 7-2. They're operating on all cylinders. They're 7-2. We know who they are. I'm going with the Bills. Number 4. See, it's tough because the 3 teams I'm looking at right now for these power rankings are the Steelers, Ravens, and Commanders. I think the Ravens deserve to be in the top 5 purely because they have such a dynamic offense. So for that reason, I am going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. They have the number 1 offense in the NFL, and Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson are just unstoppable. They may be 6-3, but what they've been able to do is incredible. I'm going to go with the Ravens for number 4. Number 5 in the power rankings, I want to say whoever wins between the Commanders and the Steelers this week is going to be number 5. But I'm going to go with the Commanders. I'm just going to put them in here because it's my show. I want them to be in the top 5. They're 7-2. They have a higher point differential, better offense, better balanced in terms of the offense and defense dynamic. I'm going to go with Commanders at number 5. If they beat the Steelers on Sunday, then they definitely have solidified their place in the power rankings as number 5. So, that's week 10, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time.